Okay, thank you for coming out or hanging out for the podcast and set. Woo! Yeah! Our scheduled guest, Jonathan Grant, couldn't make it because he's in the hospital sick with the flu. But in the spirit of the show must go on, we're going to pick a random member from the audience to do the podcast and set with. Yeah! So I've got a little stack of names here. I'm going to take this one. Paul Cain. Yeah, so you can take those, I guess.
I'm so sorry.
Why are you sorry?
You just had a lot of great options out there tonight.
Well, it was the fates chose you, Paul. So you're Paul Cain.
Yes.
And you're actually in one of my workshops right now.
Mm-hmm. I'm a student of yours.
Yes, you are. Currently, yes, you are. So, who are you and what do you know?
Got a lot of answers. No, I'm Paul. I'm 29. I'm from Southern California, and I've just started to do improv action in the past 6 months.
Oh wow! So you're just starting.
I'm very green. I'm a noob.
Yeah, you're doing real solid for someone. I mean, it's 6 months. You know, if it helps. For the first 4 years, I was worse than you currently are. So you're way ahead of me. No, well, you weren't there. It wasn't pretty when I started. Yeah, you're already doing real nice, solid stuff. How you been enjoying the because I'm kind of mathy,
right?
For someone who's 6 months in, that's more generally usually it's the hey, that was great.
Yeah,
try it again.
Yeah, exactly. It's been really great because I've had you, and then I had and I'm also taking a class with Mr. Brian O'Connell right now, and then I took 2 with Emily Candini, and so those are 2 different approaches to it. So it's been really cool watching Emily come from a total character, personal,
right.
Like everything self-motivated.
Right.
But your style, because it's so mathy and or just like position based and whatnot. I'm a big reader and I write a lot, so I actually am understanding how to break things down a lot quicker because of your approach. I'd say
that's right. Because actually, the workshop you're in with me right now is the 2-person workshop,
right?
Where I'm only touching on that stuff,
right?
Whereas in the normal course of the workshops, you'll get it. You're taking Brian. Is Brian teaching you the 4 scenes?
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, okay. So that's my stuff. So that's,
right, exactly.
All right. So yeah, have you taken anywhere else?
No, this is it.
Wow.
Again, I'm really sorry that you picked my.
So we built you.
Yes.
What you're doing is all ours. No, that's great. Most people, I would think, starting out wouldn't come here. It's a horrible thing to say on your own fucking podcast. I'm just saying because there are the big names in town, the Groundling, Second City,
right.
UCB. I mean, how did you wind up here?
A recommendation from my girlfriend, Amy Hessler, who took a class last year, I think.
Well, thank you, Amy.
And no, I've had a lot of my close friends are improvisers, and they do it all around town. And so I've been the past 5 years, been watching like a ton of it and just hanging out with a ton of improvisers. So, a few friends from Chicago, so they kind of came out here already formed or, already with their like learning done. And
right.
then our buddies have done on the West Side Comedy Theater. So I essentially just this summer like wanted to try it, and I didn't. The other, all the political aspects of it I had known about because I'm friends with all these people.
Right.
So those all kind of turned me off. And I was just like, I just want to go somewhere where there's like no bullshit, no zip zap zop. Just like, they're just going to like put us like right in front and like just start drilling us right away. And Amy was like, oh, go to Miles Stroff. It's zero bullshit. It's just like straight into it. So that's been advertised. Yeah.
That's great. It's funny you were saying you've been watching it for some years now. I'm thinking that's got to be such an advantage because there's so much good play now around town to see. It made me remember. It was like oh, I watched. I was like, oh, that's right, but there wasn't any to watch really. To me, there was only a couple shows in town in Chicago back when I started.
Yeah.
So I couldn't. I mean, what I could watch was like Second City, but that's not improv really.
Right.
So that's got to be a great advantage to players nowadays. Because I always say, I talk quite often about how you learn just from watching. You watch good shows, you watch bad shows. Your mind processes what works, what doesn't seem to work. It all becomes part of the training. What's your background outside of improv?
A lot of beer.
A lot of beer?
A lot of alcohol in my life. No, I'm a waiter.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
Yeah, are you a teetotaler? Fan? You sober?
A teetotaler. I wouldn't disrespect my drinking by calling it teetotaling. I actually had to think for a second. Does teetotaler mean you don't drink?
It means you don't drink, yeah.
Oh, it means you don't drink.
Yeah, it's like the 19th century, early 20th century.
You're a teetotaler.
Yeah, it's like the fancy way of saying you can't handle your booze.
I'm glad it came up off stage. Teetotaler. Because I heard it and I was like, teetotaler, that sounds like someone who doesn't drink. But I think it's an expression that means you drink.
Maybe ironically.
All right. Is it? Anyone know?
Yeah, there's...
You drink tea.
Yeah, tea, all right. Yeah, it makes so it's just what it fucking sounds like. You're right. I should have gone with what my brain told me instead of trying to. Those words can't mean what they mean. They'll mean something else. So yeah, no, I've done my share of the drink. So aside from beer,
I grew up playing a lot of sports and watching a lot of movies, reading a lot of books, talking a lot.
Right.
And so I'm bugging all my family members.
29 though, right?
You're right. Yeah. So what would have been doing as an adult?
Well, yeah. I mean,
How do I pay the bills?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
What have you college? You work?
Yeah. Again, I went to college and I drank a lot and played a little soccer in college growing up, and then I've been working in restaurants since college.
All right. So what was your degree in college?
English.
That's a great degree.
Yeah,
no, it is.
I mean, I like reading a lot, so that works out.
No, but I mean, I've always been told, and it seems to be true, that if you're an English major, your primary skill is being able to learn because you can read. Yeah. You're good at reading, so you can learn almost anything. My wife was an English major. She graduated, I believe, magna cum laude at USC, and now she's a senior relationship manager for Mass Mutual.
Right.
She was a temp at John Hancock and decided she wanted a real job. And so then they hired her and she took a test, took another test, read, studied. And now, it has nothing to do with, I mean, she's an English major.
Right.
She was a theater person too, but she can learn anything.
What did you study? Did you go to college?
I went to 2 years of undergrad. Okay. Because I barely graduated high school. I graduated high school with a 1.67.
Is that graduating?
That is graduating. I graduated in the top 75% of my class. But I just never. I mean, because in high school I ran into the problem of I went to a Catholic grammar school. Okay. And I did okay in Catholic grammar school. Probably ABC student. I think I was a bright child, but I went to high school and I did this summer musical where I met all these seniors who were cool and didn't go to school a lot. And I thought, you can just not go to fucking school? Because it was a public high school. Right. So it wasn't nearly as strict or as overseen as a Catholic one. And I just started not going to classes. He's like, and they fail you for that. Because I would show up and take a test. I don't think I ever did worse than maybe a C or so on a test. But it's like I remember one class, I liked the class. I just missed a bunch of them. But I did A work. I did all the work. Right. I turned it all in, A work, took the test, got like A, B's on them. Guy failed me.
Because you didn't show up.
Okay, and actually he failed me just because I missed 4.
Was it high school?
Yeah, I remember that now. I missed 4 classes. That's it. You failed.
Where was this?
It was Oak Park River Forest High School in Oak Park, Illinois.
Oh, yes, outside Chicago. Right?
It's like the first suburb west of Chicago.
So I
was a terrible high school student. It was basically 4 years gone to waste. I got out of high school. I'm not going to college because 1.67.
Right. Book learning.
And it was actually a mentor of mine, a guy by the name of Jack Lawler, convinced me, because I used to hang out in this deli where I talked to these old smart guys, really smart guys. I mean, guys that were like PhDs and like, German and philosophy.
Like retired guys?
No, some retired, some did different things, some taught at universities.
Okay.
But they used to hang out in this deli, and they were amused by, me and a few of my friends. So we would hang out with these guys and argue and talk. And that's when I started. I mean, that's what made, their ability to dance with knowledge made me want more knowledge.
That's what made you want to learn.
Yeah, that's what made me want. And he got me once, because I was like, I'm not going to college. I was like probably 19 at this point. I'm not going to college. I'm out of high school for a year, not really doing nothing. He's like, tell me something. Why do you study math? And I'm just like, because you need to know math. You got to make change, shit like that. It's like dumbass 19-year-old answer. He's like, no, Miles, you study math because it maps over the universe. And I was like, oh, right. Right. That I'm dumb. I'm dumb. So I went to DePaul University. And it's funny to me because
how'd you get in with that shitty GPA?
There you go. You just don't apply because people want your fucking money. I didn't apply, so technically I wasn't a registered student.
Okay. But
I took a full curriculum of English major classes.
Okay, like auditing?
No, I took them.
Wow.
You can take the classes. You're just technically not a student there because you didn't apply. It's basically, you're called a non-degree seeking student.
Right.
So I'm not seeking a degree, so they don't have to worry about how well I do, but they can take my money. And my plan was, I'll just do 4 years. I'll finish my entire curriculum and then apply. And say like, what are you gonna do? I finished the whole curriculum.
Had you met anyone who'd done that?
No. Nope. I just figured that would work. And I wish I had done it just to see, because how do you say no to that? It just doesn't make any sense. No, you couldn't handle I already did. But actually, I dropped out after 2 years. The first year I took like a regular freshman load of stuff.
Okay.
Right, a spread of stuff, and I did fine. It was pretty much all A/B work. And then the next year, I was like, that stuff was boring me. And that's partly why I did so poorly in high school. So then I took like all graduate level English courses, like 18th century literature and shit like that, right? And I was doing all AB stuff in there. But then I started running into this thing that they had a thing at DePaul, this political correct thing. They had a manual for political correctness.
What does that mean?
It means you couldn't say man or mankind because the word man was in there.
No shit.
So you had to say humanity or people. You had to find it was really. I was like, this is a university saying you can't. And I'm just like, I remember at the time I was like, so I couldn't say one small step for man. I would have to say one small step for humanity. And I'm just like, that's okay, but the first one sounds better. It's more hourly pleasing.
Right.
I'm just like, you're basically saying there's so much classic literature, so much great literature filled with this language, and you're saying, no, it's all wrong. And then I started to get into big arguments with my teachers, which made my writing I would start putting shit in my writing. I remember I got downgraded a grade and a half. I did a solid A final presentation paper for 18th century literature. And I wound up getting a B- because the opening of the paper, I described, I can't remember her name now. It was a woman author from the 18th century. Was it Dryden? No.
Shelley?
No.
18th century?
18th century.
Oh.
But whatever. I accurately described her, but I said, I had set up like a buffet sort of
the deli spread
metaphor for the opening of the paper, and I described her as that menopausal-looking bitch who had chained herself to the buffet. Now, this was completely unnecessary, and then I immediately, parentheses, please excuse the phrase menopausal-looking bitch. Nothing else quite seemed to capture it. B-.
I'm surprised you got a B.
Well, to me, because then there's the paper, which is the rest of the paper was just scholarly, right?
Right.
But that was me saying, fuck you for this agenda you've got here. And to me, that's censorship. I mean, you grade me down like that based on that phrase, you're censoring me. And I said that, I call out a teacher and saying, I said, isn't this censorship? Let's not talk about censorship. Are you fucking kidding me? I'm an English major sitting in an English class, and I just accuse you of censorship, and you're laughing it off. I don't know if I could accuse you of anything worse.
That's like that professor in Missouri who's in charge of media studies for kicking off the television camera. That happened a couple weeks ago. There were protests at University of Missouri, and the head or the lady who teaches media relations kicked a television crew off campus for like she just like.
Because she knows what they're going to fucking do. She
censored the mass media, yeah.
But yeah, so what was funny was, so my time there is coming to an end. It's a long fucking story. But this deli I'm sitting in, because these guys were just brilliant men. And I bring them everything that I learn in school to them. And when they run into this stuff, they're like, that's bullshit. And like one thing she said, like, nope, you won't get published if you don't write if you write like this. And they gave me a list of local people who've been published, of like basically everyone they knew. Like here's a bunch of people who've been published, none of whom disagree with this. Right? What next? What's your next thing you're going to tell me? And these guys who were getting probably a kick out of it because they're just arming me, this 19, 20-year-old kid, to the teeth with arguments to take down this department. And I wound up in an argument with the head of the department to the point when he said, well, that's just our policy. And when I heard that, I was like, I'm done. That was the moment. I was like, no, that's just your policy? You're going to you're going to throw that at me?
Had you discovered improv at that point?
No. I was just trying to learn some stuff in college.
How long after that did you fall in improv?
After that, I think I drop out of college. Then I'm back to not doing much. And then at some point, I wind up taking a workshop at the Players Workshop in Chicago, which was like a really remedial improv training place that you have to take in order to audition for the Second City Training Center in Chicago. And I was there for about 6 months when I was 20, and then I was hit by a car, and it shattered both my legs, and it laid me up in a bed for like I was in cast for like a year and a half.
Jesus.
And in that time is when I figured, you know what, I should probably do something that is something, right? And so when I got out, I said, I'm not going back to the Players Workshop because I wasn't really enjoying that. I'm just going to see if I can audition for Second City. And I had to get my high school theatrical director to write me. And he was a great guy, James Eitram. He's since passed, but he wrote me a wonderful letter saying this boy should be able to audition for your training center. And that got me the audition for the Second City Training Center, which got me in. Actually, I auditioned with Rachel Dratch, among others, and she didn't get in. Just another classic story from Second City about someone who just didn't get in who should have. She got in eventually. And it was like there was no real reason for her not to get in. It was sort of random the way they were doing it.
What was
of course, now when I look back at it, it's like the idea of having to audition to take that training center is bullshit anyway.
What was the audition like?
It was play an emotion, do 3 characters through the door, play this short form game. It was just basic stuff. It was, but that was their process. So that's when I started. I did 2 years at Second City, got my T-shirt, still wasn't any good. And a guy in my class told me about the traveling sort of group that was the Improv Olympic back then with Sharna and Dell, and I went and saw a show there. So I was done with Second City, and they weren't hiring,
right. So
I was okay. I'll go here. And that is when I started to improvise. That's when it began for me, really. Right. And I still sucked for another good while.
At that point, there was how much would you say good improv was there to seek out in Chicago at that point? Like if you wanted to go see any.
It's just, but there was literally like two different. There was the Metroform then. I'm not sure if they were the Annoyance yet. They were doing shows. That was a different style. The Improv Olympic put up shows maybe a couple nights a week.
Right.
There's nothing else really going at that point. It wasn't like now you can't throw a fucking brick without hitting an improv show somewhere.
Right.
And you got to throw bricks. No, so there wasn't a lot to see. But if there was something to see, I was there. I mean,
right.
If it was the Annoyance or IO or if I'd try and watch anything I could, because that's when it, as Paul Valancourt said on here, that's when I caught fire with it. That's when I was like, I'm going to do this like forever. It's like I just knew it.
Was there one specific improviser, like watching them work, you like, I want to be that, like, is there one, like, do you have a specific idol or just want to be part of it?
There was a bunch of them back then. I mean, the team, Blue Velveeta was the house team at IO then. And on there you had, Jay Leggett, rest in peace, Jay, taken too soon. Mitch Rouse, Brendan Sullivan, Brian Blondell, Kevin Dorff, Susan Messing, Tom Booker. I don't think I missed anyone. I hope I didn't. They were by far the best team. For my money, they're still the best strict Herald team that's ever played. And they were all good. I mean, I think in particular, guys, other guys that were there that weren't on that team, like Brian Stack, Brian McCann, Noah Gregoropoulos, Scott Robinson. These were guys that just, just so many names that were ahead of me. Pat Finn, Pete Gardner, Dave Keckner. And I'd watch all these guys and just basically just try and steal.
Right.
Basically, I was like, I want what you're doing. So I'd sit there and watch, go, what's he doing? How did he do that? And I'd sit there and think about it for hours. Like, how did he come up with that?
You were telling us about Keckner the other day that he would just like base a character off of.
Oh yeah, he could. He would yes so strongly that he wouldn't have to and. His yes would be so strong, and actually, when I analyze it now, I'm just like, oh, he'd yes himself into a character, and that's the addition. It's like he's now a full blown character instantly, and he's one of the big. He's a huge driving force of that sort of golden age, what I consider to be a golden age of improv in Chicago. I forget what they called him. I think they called him Hollywood or whatever. He always had bits, but no, he was a monster. There were so many good players. Dorff was such a good player. Susan Messing was such a good player. Mitch Rouse. I think Mitch was the one I think I wanted to be.
Yeah.
Yeah, because he always. It's funny because I dressed like him for years after because he wore a black shirt and black jeans, and you'll find old pictures of me, black shirt, black jeans.
Right.
That's what Mitch is wearing. That's what I'm wearing. And some players, like a guy like Brian Stack, he's one of the guys that's like I would say like 95% of what I've ever seen.
Mm-hmm.
I can tell you where it came from. Right? I can look at it and go, all right, here I can see how you would arrive at that idea. Whereas Brian Stack would say shit that would just infuriate me because it would be hysterical, and I'd go home and be like, why would anyone's mind get to that? Why would anyone's mind do that? Fuck that guy.
For just like opening scenes or just in the middle?
It's just all the time. Just, and also even worse is he's like the nicest person in the world, right? I mean, he really is. If there was a contest, you'd have a hard time to find the person who is nicer than Brian Stack. But yeah, I'm sitting here getting pissed about it again.
You're turning red.
But yeah, that was a great time to come through. There were so many good people to watch. But then eventually you start making it your own. And actually, the people who you once admired, you then sort of felt competitive with. And it's like you wanted to not just be them, you wanted to be a step ahead of them.
Right.
right? So it was, it was a great time to come through. I'm so glad you're starting here. Just something I like to think we're creating a nice little community.
Yeah.
To help the players get the sense that we actually give a shit about them. And I just like the idea of someone. No, he was here first. So if you get him, you're welcome.
I'm sure that's not going to happen.
Well, yeah, you're just starting, and really, I mean, for 6 months in, you're doing great. Even from like day 1 of class to day 2 of class, you were better.
Right.
And you get, when I give you notes, you get them. So let's see. I did not intend for this to be the Miles Strauss story hour.
I like it.
Yeah, you don't have to say
it's
much.
More important. I mean, no one wants the Paul Cain story.
So you bartended a bunch, right?
Bartend, wait tables a lot.
Collegiate jock.
Yeah.
Right? Drank a lot in college, got your English major.
Barely, yeah.
Probably not magna cum laude.
No.
Right? But you got it, so that's still a good degree to have. I respect the hell out of that degree. Bartending a bunch, drinking some more, and then what sort of what made you want something more?
Yeah, just because I've been waiting tables. Like, essentially, when you're in the service industry, especially in LA, like I worked for a few years in San Francisco before I moved down here. Everyone's doing something else. Like, that's the obvious stereotype. So that's like negative, but it's also positive. Like, no one in the service industry is there to be in the service industry. And if you meet people that are there to be in the service industry, they're the worst. I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. I'm just thinking, because the idea that makes me think of it was what you're describing. It's like, so if you're a waiter in LA who's just a waiter.
Yeah.
Right? That's the saddest fucking thing. Right? Because, I'm just saying, it's because like, here's my waiter. He's probably an actor. No, I'm not. I
get that conversation all the time. But that happens they get so sad.
But now you can say, well, I'm taking, now you can be the usual asshole waiter who tells them about the classes you're taking in this. And as we speak, I imagine you've already started your pilot.
Absolutely. Yeah. Oh yeah.
There you go.
Already started writing it.
Get it written.
No.
No, I just love that the waiters. I had never thought of that. That's just funny to me. It's like a waiter in LA who's not also trying to be an actor. He's just a waiter.
They would get confused. I used to have really long hair, like stereotypically kind of beach bum hair. So I would wait at a place that a lot of tourists come in, and saw these like these European tourists would come in and go, "Oh, you are a surfer," and I don't surf, and I would tell them I don't surf, and they would just get like so sad and disappointed that their LA waiter wasn't a surfer. Their face would drop and they'd be like, nothing
same
else.
Exact fucking thing. That's the same sad bit.
Yeah,
it's like
it's a sad existence.
I just love the idea. I should write this up. The idea of someone who goes through life. They keep doing things like, I'm a waiter. I'm not going to be a waiter anymore because I'm not an actor. Like, I'm just going to grow my hair out and get tan and hang out at the beach, but not be a surfer. What else could I do that looks right? I kind of join a crowd. They're like, I'll buy a bowling ball and cut my hair short, and I'll go hang out at the bowling alley and not bowl.
I can wear New Balance shoes and then not run ever.
Oh yeah, there you go.
I do that as well. I own a lot of New Balances. And I never run anymore. I'm a sad shell of a man.
But you're doing great.
Oh, thanks, buddy.
No, you really aren't. And I think you are here. And this ship will probably, hopefully, do all the wonderful things for you that it does for so many people. Any questions for Paul? Or questions at all? Anything? No, you get all right here. Yeah, all right.
Say you're writing a pilot?
He is now.
You want me to tell you
what's it about?
Sad salesman. The sad. Because I've worked. The only other job I've worked outside of service was I did 6 months as a commercial insurance brokerage, and so that's like the most salesy sales job. Like you spend all day on the phone to get to someone in person, to meet them 5 times, to get like. It's the fucking worst. So I'm trying to write like a funny satire about that.
All right, great.
About sales. It's like, yeah, that's the only thing I could say is worse than restaurant work is.
Well, put that English degree to work and write. Write it. Write all the time. Write.
You've done any sales
write
work?
Anything. What?
You've never done any sales work?
Yeah, I've done some sales work. I've had a bunch of shitty jobs in my life. It was funny because like I've always had a fairly deep voice, so I think I was 19 and I got a job telemarketing, but I was a salesman,
right?
But I would also telemarket, and on the phone, this person was talking to an adult that they were willing to spend $15,000 on a new office phone system, right? Which is what I was doing then. And I'd show up all 19 in my tweed suit. And, I'd encounter some 50-year-old man who would look at me and be like, I'm not interested in this anymore.
So you call them on the phone first and they think they're like...
Well, yeah, that's how you right. Call them on the phone.
So they would assume like a full-grown adult would be walking in.
They would assume the person matched the voice, right? Because I sound like I'm probably a full-grown man. But no, I'm just 19 with a low voice. So that didn't work out. But it was something. And then actually for a while, I just telemarketed for that company, which made more sense. And I passed off the leads to people who were adults and could actually close the deal. I think one of the funnest jobs, shittiest jobs I ever, though, I helped, it was just for like a week. And I helped some guy for $6 an hour install used x-ray equipment. And he had to load up a van with used x-ray equipment in Chicago.
That sounds
and
dangerous.
Then drive like to Wisconsin and find some small doctor's office and install this old x-ray machine in his office. And old x-ray machines are like all lead and steel.
Right.
So like everything weighs 200 pounds. I just remember the guy was like, hey, pick that up. Just some box that looks like it's, a box. All right. I got to go to pick it up and it slips out of my hands. It's a 200-pound lead weight.
Right.
And I was like, oh, you got me. There's something in that box that's heavy.
My back.
Yeah, you got me. I didn't know what was in that box.
I don't like... Sounds like a great game and a great guy.
Yeah. He was a nice enough guy. But I remember it was like a week of like 12 to 18 hours a day. And I was like, fuck this. $6. It was a nice little check at the end of it. But then where's the rest of your life?
Right.
You go there, you sleep in the van on the way back from fucking Wisconsin. You wake up and you go back.
I've helped my dad move his lab a couple times. He's like a guerrilla biochemist. He like runs. It's weird.
So your dad's super smart.
Yeah, he's like dyslexic too. So he's like in biochemistry because he couldn't read.
Okay.
And then got his doctorate, and he taught himself how to read and write essentially to do his dissertation. He's way smarter than me. He's a really smart guy. But no,
but that's in there then. That's part of you.
Yeah, in a much smaller, like diminished capacity.
Yeah, that's you selling yourself short.
You should meet this guy. He's pretty smart. But he usually say he's really impressive.
No, I didn't get any of those genes.
No,
I just got my dumbass mother's genes. What's your mom do?
She's a doctor.
She's a doctor, yeah. So yeah. So what I see, I think your parents will. I'm going to call your parents right now.
They're trust me, they're very disappointed.
I bet they're not. You tell them you're doing this now?
Improv?
Yeah.
I think I mentioned it. It's been like, because I only see them a couple times a year, like, right. They would meet up as a family a couple times, even though they live close.
Nothing makes a parent prouder. Nothing in the world.
Yeah, I'm afraid. Yeah, exactly.
Makes a parent prouder.
I've been to shows where my friends doing improv, parents see them do improv for the first time, and I've seen how bad that can get. Because, like, if you're doing stand-up comedy or something, you at least have, like, a gauge on what is being produced. Right. I saw my friend go up there and had perform in front of his girlfriend's grandmother for the first time. And his buddies got there, and, like, they just went blue from the jump. Like, just, like, he had this 75-year-old Cuban woman who, like, came to this country in dire conditions to live. And they walk out and they're just like asshole, prolapsed anus jokes, like and it just Like it just was bad. So no,
Nana, this is my boyfriend.
Yeah, Abuelita was not happy with little Joseph afterwards.
All right. All right. I think it's all the time we have. We ran a little bit late on this, so let's get up and do a set.
Let's do it.